I hereby call this agenda review meeting of the Nacogdoches ISD Board of Trustees to order. Let a record show that a quorum is present and that notice of the meeting was posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. Board members Dr. Tyrell Groman and Reverend James Irvin are not presently at the meeting. All items on the agenda today are for discussion only. No action will be taken at this meeting. Please join us in turning your cell phones to silent mode. Thank you, guys. And I will kind of remind the new folks in the audience that this is a new type of format that we're using, an agenda review meeting, workshop meeting to discuss and review items that we will be making decisions on and taking actions on at our regular board meeting on Thursday night. With that, we will start with item 2, the consent agenda. The board minutes are first. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes? Are there any questions and concerns on the minutes? All right. Hearing none, we're going to move to item B, which is business office reports. I will ask Ms. Barbara to walk us through that section, please.
Good noon.
Yes.
The first item is budget amendments, and that is on page 18 and 19. The first amendment is for the purchase and sale of buses that was approved at the last meeting, where we are expecting $245,000 of income for the sale. The purchase is $865,625 for the purchase, and the difference will come from fund balance, $620,625. The second one is for a donation we received from the boosters. The item C is special ed has requested to add a physical therapist to the staff, and they're using funds that would have been used for a contractor that they will not need.
Okay. I'm going to pause there if I may, and just before we move on, that was one of my questions. So this is a new position, and it sounds like previously it was contracted out.
Yes.
And we're just going to transition it and hire
An actual
person for that.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
How difficult has it been to find a physical therapist?
It's been very difficult in the past, and that's why they've been contracting for several years.
I see.
But we've come across a person that is.
Great.
And that individual will be used throughout the district, or will it be at one school?
Throughout.
Oh, okay. Is that position going to be utilized throughout the district?
Yes, that position's for the entire district. It will cover not only physical therapy services, but as well as adaptive PD services. So, we were very blessed.
Madam President, let me explain the distance while we're here today. We only have one meeting room, and this was in use just prior to this meeting started. That was the way it was set up, so we didn't have time to move all the chairs up here. So that's why she's way back there, not because she's in trouble.
And the final amendment is for security cameras that are needed. I believe these are at Nettie Marshall, and so they're transferring funds, their own funds. So any other questions on budget amendments?
On those security cameras, are those going to be, are those going to be put in the hallways, in the classrooms? Where are those going to be put? Do you know?
I believe one is in the cafeteria, and the other one is where the kindergarten students predominantly maybe congregate, so maybe looking out over the play area.
And
Is that right,
if I
Mr.
could ask
Martin?
us to not be too specific about a security matter, you don't want to point out where all your security things are in a public setting.
Okay.
But if you have questions, we can go into the closed setting, answer all the questions
Okay.
that you have.
Any other questions, or would you like to move on?
We good?
Okay.
We can move on.
All right, the donations, it begins on page 23, and they total $2,672. monetary and non-monetary donations. The monetary one is $672 from the boosters for girls' basketball. And then non-monetary are prizes and school supplies from Walmart and NIPCO. Any questions on that?
So the NIBCO donation was in kind?
Yes, it was. And then on page 26 and 27 is our investment report. I would like to point out that on the column labeled income earned for our certificates of deposit, it shows a negative amount. That is a negative just because they sent us the money and it's now in our bank account rather than theirs. So we earned $29,114 this past month. And those are all the consent items that have action with them. The rest are all for information items only, and that's many pages. I will take any questions you have.
Any questions?
See, I'm just.
Is everyone ready to move forward, or do we want to make sure everybody had a chance to peek at that? I will ask Ms. Barbrick, I did notice that has work been completed on the LED sign at the high school?
No.
Do we know? It is
No,
not.
there's still more work
Not,
to
I'm
do.
sorry, not the large, not the stadium sign,
No, we were purchasing additional one from a local business. It's not been completed yet.
okay,
No, ma'am.
all right. All right. Well, hearing no more questions, I don't want to rush you guys, make sure we're okay.
And anytime
Uh,
between now and Thursday, give us a call. As things
That's
come up,
right.
please let us know.
We'll move to item C, additional T-test appraisers, and that's Mr. Martin.
Good afternoon, President Fitch, members of the board, Superintendent Fraley. We are just asking the board to approve additional T-test appraisers for the 2018-2019 school year. We have Dolores Mills from Emmeline Carpenter and Lindsay McInich from Fredonia Elementary. Both ladies have completed the requirements to be T-test appraisers for this school year.
What, are they assistant principals, or?
Yes, ma'am. Both
Okay.
are assistant principals. One is new to the district, Ms. Mills, and she serves at Carpenter Elementary. Ms. McInich has been a teacher within the district, and she was promoted to assistant principal over Fredonia this year.
Wonderful.
Mr. Martin, this appraisal, training, and clearance is for 1 year, and then next year they have to go through the.
They have to do an update course. These two ladies, being that they were first-year assistant principals or first-year administrators, had to go through the full training session, which they attended at Region 7. Next year, they'll have to just go through an update process.
And, I'm sorry, go right ahead.
I was just curious, how will that impact their responsibility as principals? Will it be an added responsibility, or is it just like an overseeing?
Part of their job duties is to appraise teachers. So they'll be going in during walkthroughs and appraisal. This is part of the appraisal process.
Question. And refresh my memory, if I'm correct, T-test requires teachers be appraised once every 3 years? Or is that?
Well, we do, the board has a policy, it's the less than annual policy that some teachers can qualify for. if they meet the criteria that the board has set forth in the policy. But other teachers, first-year teachers, will be appraised every year.
Makes sense.
Mr. Martin, is there any stipends for those teachers, those assistant principal who evaluate?
No, sir. It is stated in their job description that they are to be certified appraisers, so it is part of their normal job duties.
Any additional questions? Hearing none, we'll move to item D, submission of class size waiver to the Texas Education Agency. Dr. Hill.
Good afternoon. This is an additional classroom that has popped up on our radar as 23 at TJR, grade 2. And so I believe Ms. Anderson has provided you with a document at your place that has all of the class sizes. And so last month, we approved Fredonia Kindergarten, Nettie Marshall Kindergarten in 4th grade, Reg A Kindergarten, and this month, TJR at 2nd grade.
Ms. Hill, is there any capacity limit beyond that it's not authorized to request for waiver?
Let me make sure I understand what you're saying.
In other words, is there, when do they stop? They say we're not issuing a waiver. The ceiling.
From a TEA standpoint, I don't know that I've ever encountered where they don't. It's mainly, whenever you look at the physical location of the room, and would it be appropriate to have that many students in a classroom, depending upon the size, the square footage. But I haven't heard of TEA not approving them.
I've not heard of that either. I've worked with like an operating position of no more than 25 in grades 1 through K through 4. It's a 22-to-1 ratio, and we're not there with this one. And if we get there, then we'll come back and look at something different.
So we have the option of having over 22 in each classroom?
Yes, sir. If you request a waiver, and typically you work with the principal and the school to see if it's best to split the class up. A lot of times at this point they've gotten accustomed to their teachers, and they really don't want to have a new teacher come in place, and sometimes they don't have space for it either. Or you can't find a qualified teacher. There are a lot of reasons why principals will just go ahead and have a waiver versus split the class up.
So it looks like from the handout here that we have 5 classrooms in the district that have 1 additional student each.
Yes, ma'am.
Correct. I assume that the principals work with those teachers and to select. I assume, for example, we wouldn't have a first-year teacher with an extra student in the room, especially in those lower grades, because I know how hard it is with the young students. So I assume that there's an initiative or an effort to communicate with these teachers and maybe get a volunteer to say, yeah, I can take one more on. Can you kind of explain how that works to us?
I honestly don't know, if I
Okay.
might be very frank.
I can
would have
say
to-
that as a former principal, that's exactly what you do.
Okay.
Sure.
That's what I did. I work with the staff, and they let me know what was best in their
Sure.
estimation.
Just looking at it overall, it's not
It's not bad.
It's not bad at all. The number of students in 22-to-1, I think that, you look at, what is that, in Fredonia, you just have, that one campus of kindergarten that won over, and you look at, I think it's overall, it's not.
Yeah, it's hard, as a mama, it's I would love to see our kindergarten ratios a little lower
Sure.
than what they are, because I know the time and effort that it takes, with 5-year-olds. But baby steps. I think these ratios are better than what we've had in the past, and, we'll keep working toward hopefully being able to decrease those ratios more. That would be my hope.
Madam President, if I could add, I think our ability to hire quality staff has improved tremendously. Mr. Morgan reported this morning at Cabinet the recruiting visit to SFA, and how they had, for the first time, a line at our table.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
That's great.
That had to feel good.
It felt really good. For the first time, as I was telling Interim Superintendent Fraley this morning and the cabinet, we went to the job fair at SFA on Friday afternoon, and we had lines of people lining up. And Dr. Crespo, high school principal, interviewed about 3 to 4 people. So we've got a lot of good folks. Looks like they want to come in and be a part of Nacogdoches ISD.
It's very exciting.
That's good. Great job.
Any more questions for Dr. Hill on the class size waiver? We'll move on to item E, appointment of the School Health Advisory Council members. I believe Mrs. Dial's got that one. I should say Coach Dial, sorry.
It's officially afternoon. Good afternoon, President Fitch and board members and Superintendent Mr. Fraley. I'm Coach Dial. I'm the coordinator for our School Health Advisory Council, and I am referring to page 73 of the packet that you were given as far as dates for our upcoming meetings this year and committee members.
I was looking at this, and you have no representation from a few schools. Is there a reason for that, or?
Every school.
For parent participation?
Every school was asked to give an employee representative and a parent representative. The names on this sheet are the schools that responded to that request.
I'm just wondering, I would like to see representation from these 3 schools that don't have a parent representative.
I would too, but they did not send us any names for representation.
We ask our superintendent to visit with our campuses and see if we can get some representation there.
Meeting with them Friday morning.
There you go. And can you briefly, we've got several new board members, can you briefly kind of give us a rundown of what the shack does?
Okay, we are strictly just a suggestion-based, I guess, think tank is what you can do. We're required to have one for our district. In fact, all districts are required to have one, and we need to have representation. We're required to have community representation. We are required to have parent representation from most campuses and an employee from most campuses. We also have employees from other areas in our district, like social work, food nutrition, nursing. So, and we come together and we just assess what we think are the needs of the students, what would provide them with an environment to where they can get the most out of their academic day. Usually that revolves around PE, health, nutrition services. And when we see there's a need, we brainstorm, think what can we do to meet this need, and then we present that to the school board and let the school board decide, is that something that they feel needs to be put in place? And then we can help the school board as far as how to implement that. In the years past, we've done tobacco survey. We always do fitness gram, which is a state mandated fitness test. Usually we get selected to do the tobacco survey. That's through the A&M Extension Services. And that, in the past when we have done that, that has provided a little bit of funding for the campuses that participate in that survey. It's anonymous. Parents have the opportunity to decline their child's involvement in that. We do get a few parents that decline that, but most often all the students participate that are selected. We also, at times, will do the audit for the nutrition services. We will meet and make sure we are meeting the requirements that are presented with the audit for the nutrition services on campus and National Nutrition Services and how they get their funding. So we're just a big think tank. We get together, eat lunch, and discuss where we think we can meet the needs on a health basis of the students to allow them to be successful throughout their school day.
And we appreciate the work that you guys do.
Oh, well, thank you. So, and we also have the dates on here of when we would like to meet. We're required to meet 4 times a year, and these are the proposed dates for meeting this year.
I do have a question. How do
Okay.
you go about soliciting a representative from the community?
We, some community members, believe it or not, will express an interest, and so we reach out to them when the school year comes about. Because the committee, we try to change committee members if possible every year. We offer that opportunity every year, based on whether they're willing to, is another story, but we offer it to them every year, just like we offer it to every campus every year. This year, we have this community member that's on here. She expressed an interest last year. She was on it. She expressed an interest with doing it again this year, so we have sent out an invitation to her, and she accepted it. What we're also doing this year to have more involvement, they're not necessarily committee members, but we are sending out an invitation for community liaisons for several different organizations throughout the community. We have 2 pages full of people and contact information that once we have the meeting date set, we're going to send out an invitation to join our first meeting, and explain to them what we're doing, what our purpose is, why their involvement we feel is important to us as a committee. And hopefully that will get some more involvement just from the community as a liaison, where they can, provide opportunities as far as how to reach more parents, because a lot of this is being able to reach parents. Maybe they're a resource that we can tap into. Some of the topics, like one of the topics that we started last year that we want to discuss further this year, is a health and hygiene fair, or some sort of health and hygiene initiative. There was a need coming from all the campuses about, we do the puberty education, we do education on a limited basis about hygiene with oral hygiene, and they wanted to take that further. They were noticing there was a need for students to have more in-depth or just cover more topics as far as health and hygiene goes, and how would we present that as a campus. So I've met with Ms. Young this year, and we've got some thoughts about how we could go forward with that, but we wanted to wait and present that to the committee. So that's something that we want to work on this year. We felt a need as a committee last year to have this. We want to go further this year and actually hopefully come up with a plan and be able to present it to the school board and maybe implement that hopefully this school year. If not, then we'll work on it for next school year, but that's something that we just that's on our radar this year, because there was a need, and it came from all the different campuses saying that they had a need for something like this. So, and hopefully those community members will be a good source of information and be resources. If we're able to do a health fair, they could actually come onto the campus and they could set up a booth and they could provide information and education to the students that we're going to focus on.
Fantastic.
Coach Dahl, we want to thank you for your leadership of this group. And
Well,
we
thank you.
certainly let you, if you will, let the council know how much we appreciate the work. that
I
they're
will,
doing.
yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Any more questions? All right, thank you, I appreciate it.
That takes us to item 3. 3A, consideration of RFP for instructional materials, and that would be Dr. Hill.
So a couple of weeks ago, I've been working with Mrs. Barberk, and an RFP was put together because we needed to buy some instructional materials that we felt reasonably sure it was going to cost us over the threshold in order to go out for an RFP. And so I know in your board packet on page 75 and 76, let me make sure, oh, actually not, I apologize. On the website is the copy of the RFP. And so it lists the specific things that we are asking for. And you try to keep it as specific but almost generic so that you can elicit the bids. So the bids were open this morning at 10 a.m. and then we are going to go through a rating process this Wednesday afternoon. And there is a rubric that has been devised. It's also mentioned in the RFP. And so we're going to be looking specifically for things, including qualifications, responsiveness to the RFP. Did they address the district needs? Past relationship with Nacogdoches, so if we've done business with them in the past, and then of course the purchase price. And so what we'll do is we'll bring that list to you on Thursday evening.
My question is, it says here the budget impact, a specific amount to be determined after the bids are open. Is that how they do that normally, or kind of weird that they wouldn't give you an amount?
Because at the time of when the action sheet was due, the bids hadn't been opened, so we weren't sure exactly
How much?
the cost. Am I answering that incorrectly?
Right, well, it's allowing us to use these vendors, not so much the cost. We know it will cost over 50,000, even over, I believe it was 100,000 of federal funds, which require an RFP. We won't be choosing just one vendor.
Okay.
It's a variety of vendors.
And it's using federal funds, I see.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions on this item? We'll move to item 3B, consideration of appointments to the Citizens Bond Review Committee. That would be Superintendent Fraley.
Thank you, President Fitch. I sent to you all Friday the current list of applicants, and what we're trying to do is create some balance. We have a lot from a couple of areas and none from another area or two, so we're still going to be working through that between now and your vote on Thursday to appoint these folks. So that's kind of where we are now. So we do need folks from a couple of areas. So I may talk to you all offline about if you have someone you can kind of encourage to submit their name. So that we have a lot from some areas and none from other areas, and we really want to have a balance. This is where we are right now, though.
Mr. Fraley, I'd also like to see, I noticed that there's only one Hispanic on this whole list. I would like to see more representation of Hispanics from the other districts also. I mean,
So
I
would
think
I,
it would be a good thing to have.
I fully agree. If there's someone that you may personally know or can contact to contact us and let us know that they have an interest and get the form filled out, we'd love to have them considered as well. So as I said, we need some more balance, and right now we don't have that.
And I agree, I think it's appropriate that each district is represented.
Yeah.
And so I think it'd be appropriate that we can work with, have that type of representation.
We're working through it till we get what we can do.
And do we need to consider extending this process to ensure that we get a good round, what do you say, solid representation from around the community?
Ms. Fitch, because of the nature of this and the size of the bond and the importance of this for the community, I think I'd rather you take your time and get it balanced than rush on a preset timeline.
Yeah.
And so you have that discretion as a board if you so desire to create more time to solicit folks. We talked about trying to have this approved prior to the bond election or early voting, which is next week, right? But I think the more important thing is to have a good balance versus adhere to an arbitrary timeline. So if we need more time, I would probably come to you all Thursday and ask for more time if we don't get it filled out by then.
Okay.
Thank you.
And we published the application on Facebook and our website.
We did, and we sent it out to the campuses as well. We had it in
Okay.
English and Spanish. And a couple of you recruited folks and brought the applications in. We appreciate it, which is good. Thank you. We appreciate that. That was good. Thank you. It
Well, I
helped a
thought you
lot.
kind of told us to do that.
Well, I didn't tell you, kind of a request and suggestion, maybe
Well,
something to think
a
about.
heavy suggestion.
But we really need your help. You have better contacts, especially than I do, with folks in the community. And this is a committee that is going to be authorized by you, and you want to have someone that you feel will best represent the community and be very fair, objective, and impartial, and not have a hidden agenda serving this capacity. So you all know that better than I do.
And is that form still available on our website?
It is.
It is? Okay. Very good.
And if you know someone that can't get them from the website, let us know. We'll print it out and find them. We can get it to them.
Item 4, trustee information. One of the things that I had asked, it used to be a regular part of our agenda, and over time it's kind of evolved, but asked that we add it back, and that is request for future agenda items. With this new workshop format, I thought it was very applicable to if there's a burning issue that any one of you has that we would like to address at our next meeting next month or at some point in the future. This would be a good time to bring that up. So I'll open the floor to anyone that may have concerns. All right. Hearing none, I would.
Madam President, if I could ask a favor of the board, something came up in the last 24 hours regarding item 2B, closed session, the purchase of real, or lease of real property. If, while we give you lunch, if I can have just a few minutes to give you an update on something that we've been working on, if that's possible.
We don't have an executive session posted on the agenda.
Then we can't do it today then. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll do it Thursday if that's okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
All I would accept a motion
I'm so moved.
for,
We're adjourned.
thank you, Mr. Neal, and we are adjourned.